Kantipur Conclave.
I would now like to request Ms.Idah Riddihough, the Country Director for Maldives, Nepal and Sri Lanka World Bank, for her keynote address.
Right Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Oli, Honorable Ministers, Mr. Chairman of Kantipur Media Group, Excellencies, colleagues and friends, good afternoon. On behalf of the World Bank, I would like to express my sincere appreciation for the opportunity to address you at the Kantipur Conclave titled Unleashing Nepal's Potential. The title of this important gathering of all key players in Nepal's development storyline is very appropriate. So pertinent that I have decided to borrow the title for my speech, which I am calling Unleashing Nepal's Economic Development Storyline. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm certain that everyone here would agree in many ways we are now in a new Nepal. We just saw the video that was shown a few seconds ago. After decades of political transition following the Comprehensive Peace Agreement and the devastating setbacks of 2015 earthquake and 2017 floods, we are now back on a path towards a prosperous Nepal and a happy Nepali. A stable government with a majority in parliament is able for the first time in decades to conceive and execute a long-term development vision for this country. And this development vision itself coincides with and ideally builds upon Nepal's historic transition to a federal democratic republic. The transition will offer and nurture the potential and aspirations of the Nepali people in all corners of this rich land and culture. Let me say confidently that we in the World Bank believe with the right narrative and trajectory, this aspiration is achievable. This conclave brings together a diverse group of policymakers, thought leaders, and practitioners who will discuss the many facets of Nepal's storyline. So allow me, please, to hopefully provide value to this discussion by focusing on the economic development agenda. Looking at the data and the analysis, it is evident that Nepal is on a path to achieve middle-income status by 2030. Already, we are seeing a slow but steady shift in the sources of growth from consumption fueled by remittances to investment-led growth. This shift has helped to keep growth strong at 7.9% in FY17, fiscal year 17, 6.3% in fiscal 18, and a focus of 6% in the coming fiscal year. This is an impressive achievement. Beyond GDP growth, however, we have also seen a considerable reduction in absolute poverty from around 46% in the mid-90s to approximately 15% in 2010. National headline poverty is around 25%, another significant drop. I'm hopeful that updated data will show even more promising results. So, Nepal has come far in its journey, one that was beset with a series of shocks and setbacks, macroeconomic shocks that have had a profound impact on an economy where more than a quarter of its revenue is linked to remittances. Natural disasters, including the catastrophes of 2015 and 2017, threw Nepal off its development path. Nepali resistance and resoluteness have prevailed, and we are back on the desired path. Moving forward to a middle-income country status and all the non-GDP characteristics it implies, Nepal will need sustained annual growth rates of at least 7 to 8%, if not more. Enormous levels of resources and investment will be required to drive the economy and ensure that it achieves these rates of growth. For example, infrastructure investment alone will need to be at a minimum of around 12% of GDP per year, roughly 4 times the current levels. Naturally, public resources will not be sufficient, and nor should they. Naturally, I beg your pardon, the financial and technical engagement of the private sector to crowd in private investment is outlined as a core aspect of the country's success formula. But to be clear, this does not imply a smaller role for the public sector. Quite the contrary. The role of public institutions is all the more central. Government and public institutions are the bedrock on which this economy will continue to be built. Let me elaborate a little. Private sector responds to sustained, steady reforms that are implemented in a transparent and an effective manner. Government will need to continue to build on the reform path it has embarked on. The reward for the government will be a more competitive, diversified economy with a higher FDI. Nepal has a way yet to go in attaining a desired doing business ranking. It will be critical that it improves the business environment, enables firms to link to a global value chains, to raise exports, increase access to finance, and facilitate the development of long-term finance to ease infrastructure gaps that are hindering growth today. Public investment management needs strengthening, particularly on the identification, prioritization, and appraisal of projects, and implementation of effective PPPs. The government has taken impressive strides in this regard. To mention a few, the upcoming reforms are strong basis to build on. For example, the Foreign Investment and Technology Transfer Act and the PPP Act. Nepal is on a strong path to becoming open for business in the eyes of the private sector. The upcoming International Investment Summit at the end of March will offer an opportunity for the authorities to highlight their vast legal and regulatory reforms to promote a competitive and dynamic economy. These reforms, combined with the efforts to strengthen those institutions that will implement them, are no small feat. And I would like to take a moment at this point to really congratulate the government on how far they have come and encourage them to do even more. The World Bank Group looks forward to this important summit, and it will continue to support efforts to make it a success, noting that success can only be measured by the amount of actual investment that we will see following the summit. Complementing the need to energize and catalyze greater private sector engagement is the need for a smooth unfurling of the federalism agenda. The structures of governance, public sector delivery, resource mobilization and utilization will determine the level of growth that it will emerge following the events. Indeed, if history has shown us one thing, it's that growth alone does not a nation make. The principle of shared prosperity is just as important. Growth and opportunity should emerge across the provinces and the Palikas. This, in essence, ladies and gentlemen, is the key of a federal state. In that regard, it will be critical for all of us here at this conclave to take the broad aspiration of prosperous Nepal and happy Nepali and work together to define a concrete and unifying narrative that we can all work towards, public and private sector, civil society, and development partners. In working towards a unifying narrative, it is important for us to realize and respect that a paradigm shift of this magnitude does not happen overnight. It is a journey. This narrative also requires an arena for contestable ideas and views on how to achieve common objectives. Disagreement sometimes is perhaps the most important tool when trying to discover and to work on something very difficult. No one in this hall comes from a country that was built in a day, not even a decade. It takes a long time. It's a journey. For that, I would humbly recommend that we use the conclave to identify practical and pragmatic steps that we can all take on Tuesday morning when this event is over. For us at the World Bank, we are invested in this country. And I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about emotional investment. Nepal is an important member of our institution. In fact, this year marks our 50th anniversary together. With 25 projects approaching $3 billion in financing, we are here for the long haul. And I hope, ladies and gentlemen, that you too are here for the long haul. Whether it is support to the federalism transition through the federalism needs assessment, or helping underpin the investment climate reforms through our policy and financial support, or the investments that we provide to direct sectors such as agriculture, infrastructure, the social sectors, we continue to support Nepal's storyline. Ultimately, it will be about having strong institutions that deliver services and facilities on a daily basis with competitive private institutions that provide jobs and opportunities, and an economy that is resilient to any shock that it will face. That, in a nutshell, is our strategy for support to you and to the Nepali people. We look forward to walking this journey with you. I wish you much success in this important event. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms.Idah Riddihough, for that optimistic and hopeful keynote address.
The Kantipur Conclave.